Some of you had asked me how to remember everything that we read. Um, so, for me, the intent is not about remembering what I read, it's more about condensing and synthesizing the ideas so that if I want to refer to them at a later point of time, it is easier and quicker. This is the method that I currently follow, and it is bound to evolve as well. But just to show you a glimpse, currently I'm reading this book, The Courage to Be Happy. This is a sequel to the book The Courage to Be Disliked, the review of which I posted some time back. I'm currently halfway through this book and I've read the first two parts. So as and when I read a section of the book, there'll be a few chapters which will resonate with me strongly. There'll be a lot of key takeaways from those chapters as compared to others. Again, this is relative. It depends on each individual, so it is not something that is common to everybody reading this book. So for me, the chapters, for example, Your Now Decides the Past, That Bad Person and Poor Me, resonated strongly, so I've marked them as important. So similarly, in part 2, this chapter, One Can Choose One's Life, I've marked it as something that really struck a chord with me. So now let's move on to this particular chapter and we'll see how I have annotated. So as you will see in most of my books, there is always a lot of highlighting that goes in. So for example, in this chapter, One Can Choose One's Life, it was a fantastic chapter and a lot of key takeaways. And usually I mark all the important points, I highlight them, and there could be some passages or quotes which are very, very important, so I've marked them as important over here. There could also be certain insights which are really impactful, so I would usually mark them with a heart. Either if I have a pencil or a pen, I do that, or if I don't find any pen or pencil near when I'm reading the book, I usually mark it with a highlighter as well. There could also be some key topics that are the passages are corresponding to key topics. I mark them over here so that as I browse through this book for the second time, I know that this particular passage is related to parenting, and I found that very insightful. So this is how I mark and annotate my book. So here this particular paragraph is all about how children can own up to their decisions. Very interesting concept presented here. So yeah, this is how I mark and I try to capture the essence of what I have read, so that when I go through this book the second time, I know I don't have to go through it line by line again, but I can just go over these key concepts and the highlights that I have made.